feel satisfied. I don't feel like I've ever embarrassed myself or my people, you know, in nothing that I've done. And yet and all, I got the whole world fearing me, you know what I'm saying? At 23, weighing 160 pounds, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't even started. I haven't even wrote my plan out yet, and they scared. I got the vice president know who I am, the president, every cop in every city.
What if the biggest tragedy in hip-hop history never really happened? That question has haunted fans, detectives, and journalists for almost 30 years. Because when you take a closer look at what went down in Las Vegas back in September 1996, the cracks in that official story aren't just small, they're wide open. We were told Tupac Shakur was fatally shot in a drive-by, pronounced gone 6 days later, and quietly laid to rest. But from the moment the Vegas strip lights flickered back on that night, the story started falling apart. First off, no arrests. None. Even after someone connected to the shooter openly confessed, nobody went to trial. Then came the so-called cremation. It supposedly happened within 24 hours of the announcement. So fast that even Pac's close friends never saw the body. And it gets wilder. Key evidence vanished like smoke. No coroner photos. Hospital files? Gone. The crematory worker who handled the ashes? He retired the next day and disappeared for good. Tell me, how could something like that happen in one of the most high-profile cases in music history? For any regular person, that sequence would be impossible. But somehow this one slid right past the public eye. We're told the case went cold because the street stayed silent, but insiders whisper a darker truth. That this wasn't just silence. It was a setup, a plan crafted long before a single bullet was fired.
He was talking a lot of too. He was talking a whole lot of and sometimes it's like they gonna get at you when you talking. They gonna get at you, bro. You feel me? And as far as the situation, I know, you know, it supposed to be some between him and Haitian Jack, some jury or some like that, or whatever it was, you know, and Biggie was telling, bro, you don't even.
And then in 2018, that theory came roaring back to life. When a former bodyguard named Michael Nice came forward, he wasn't just some random conspiracy chaser, he had real credentials. His background was tied to political groups and private security operations, even connected to figures linked with the Black Panthers, the same movement that shaped Tupac's own parents. According to Nice, once word spread that a hit had been ordered on the rapper, a secret team was formed to get him out of the country. Fast! Nice claimed he was part of that mission, and what he described sounded like something straight out of a spy thriller.
Humans are not just good and bad, black and white. They're compassionate at times. They're at times. A man can be and compassionate to women at the same time. I was. Look at the lunatic and look at Brenda's got it.
He said Tupac was flown out of Nevada on a private jet headed to Barbados disguised as a medical evacuation. The body left behind, according to him, it wasn't Tupac's at all. It was a substitute arranged through someone inside the hospital. And then came the biggest shocker. Nice said the entire operation was personally greenlit by Fidel Castro himself. Supposedly, Cuba became Tupac's secret refuge, but under one condition: total silence. No interviews, no public sightings, no talk about the deal, ever. Nice claimed he even had audio and video proof, including clips of Castro confirming everything. But right when he was ready to drop that evidence, boom! Nice was suddenly found lifeless in December 2018. Those who believed him didn't buy the coincidence story for a second. To them, it was a warning. The first domino in a chain meant to keep the truth locked away forever. Nice had said he went public because, in his words, nobody's been arrested because Tupac's not gone. Days later, he was. No foul play confirmed, but the timing, too eerie. For those following the trail, it looked like the pattern had just begun. Every time someone stepped up claiming to have proof, they either went silent or disappeared before anyone could verify a thing.
Mad still that my brother. First of all,
It's like the truth itself keeps getting erased. Even without Michael Nice's testimony, the official story keeps collapsing under its own weight. They said 4.40 caliber bullets hit Tupac at close range, but the details never line up. Hospital witnesses can't even agree. Some swear he was awake and talking long after the shooting, while others say he was rushed away before cops could even confirm his identity. If those wounds were truly fatal, how could anyone have moved him across borders within hours? It doesn't make sense. And then comes that wild cremation story, a supposed $3 million cash payment made to make it happen instantly. Who pays that kind of money for a cremation? That's not grief. That sounds like someone buying a clean getaway, not closure. Meanwhile, the people closest to the situation keep blurring the line between loyalty and secrecy. Suge Knight, the man behind the wheel that night, has spent years bouncing between prisons, interviews, and courtrooms, dropping hints but never giving straight answers. Back in 2014, he told a reporter flat out, "Tupac's not gone. He's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar for years." Everyone brushed that off as just Suge being dramatic.
As I walked out of there, I went in the bathroom and I threw up and just laid on the floor for like 30 minutes. His mama came in there.
But now, things feel different. In early 2025, behind prison walls, Knight launched a podcast called Collect Call. And during one episode, the tone changed completely. He suddenly shifted his attention to Snoop Dogg, his former artist and now the public face of Death Row Records. Suge said Snoop's got a lot of explaining to do about what really went down in Las Vegas, hinting that the story the world believes might be nothing more than a polished cover-up. That statement from Suge Knight hit hip-hop like a grenade, because just 3 years earlier, in 2022, Snoop Dogg had quietly bought the Death Row brand. The deal was wrapped in mystery. No one knows who funded it, how much was really paid, or what assets even changed hands. And now, with Suge firing shots from behind bars, people are starting to wonder if that purchase bought more than just the label's music rights. Maybe it bought silence.
These type of individuals always kicking dirt on Pac name after they made their millions from doing these documentaries.
The beef between Suge and Snoop has always been legendary, but in this new light, it doesn't look like simple bad blood anymore. It looks like a fight for control, a battle over who gets to shape the story of what really happened to Tupac Shakur. Suge's prison podcast has been full of little digs and coded messages, questioning whether Snoop's new position at Death Row is about paying homage or rewriting history. On one episode, Suge even hinted that certain people inside the label knew exactly what went down that night in Vegas, and that some of them benefited from keeping their mouths shut. And just like that, the old rumors started bubbling up again. Some former Outlaws members have accused Snoop of quietly downplaying Pac's legacy while pretending to honor it. Even director Alan Hughes, the man behind a major documentary on the Shakur family, once said Snoop dimmed his light to let Shakur shine. Strange choice of words, right? Because now, fans are starting to wonder if that line was never just poetic. It might have been a clue all along, because if Tupac Shakur really did survive and go underground, somebody had to manage the cover-up. Someone had to handle the label, the catalog, and the fortune he left behind. When you line everything up, the rushed cremation, the missing hospital files, the insider confessions, and now Suge Knight's new accusations, it starts looking less like coincidence and more like coordination. Every time a new clue pops up, it gets buried under fresh headlines, or the person who found it just vanishes. But the most chilling piece of this puzzle doesn't come from 1996 or even 2018. It comes from last year. In 2023, a private investigator named Jimmy Poole went online claiming he had found photographic proof that Tupac was living in Belize. He posted 2 pictures of a man in his 40s who looked exactly like Pac. Same face, same swagger. Standing beside a local fan outside a beachfront cafe. The photos spread fast, but within 48 hours, they were gone. Poole's channel disappeared, his accounts wiped clean, and friends said they couldn't reach him at all. No investigation, no statement, just pure silence again. And that's where the whole thing shifts from mystery to menace. Because if Poole's evidence was legit, that means Michael Nice wasn't lying. It means Tupac's escape wasn't just a one-time mission. It became a network. A network that didn't fade after the 90s. It evolved. The people who helped him vanish might still be out there today, still watching, still protecting the secret, and still making sure that anyone who gets too close to exposing the truth never gets the chance to speak again. The deeper we dig into Tupac Shakur's so-called death, the more it starts to look like a full-blown disappearance, and the more people connected to the truth either go missing or end up silent. Jimmy Poole's 2023 revelation proved he wasn't just some internet chaser. He was a licensed private investigator, a legit professional who went public saying he had photographic proof that Tupac was alive in Belize. The pictures showed a man in his 40s, same sharp eyes, same scar along the jawline, standing under the blazing sun outside a tiny beachfront cafe, with a fan right beside him. Poole posted the images to his verified account with a bold caption promising more to come. But within 2 days, gone. The pictures disappeared, his profile went dark, and his email started bouncing back. Friends who tried calling said his number was dead. And just like Michael Nice before him, Poole vanished right when his story was about to blow up. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern. Both men claimed they could prove Tupac survived. Both had files linking his escape to flights, body swaps, and possible Cuban ties. And both suddenly went quiet right before releasing their evidence. When you line up their timelines, the symmetry feels too perfect, almost staged, like someone's out there scrubbing the trail clean before it gets too bright. Even Poole's last post felt like a warning. He wrote that he might need to go offline for safety reasons. And after that, nothing. No follow-ups, no statements, no trace of him anywhere. It's as if every person who steps too close to the truth gets erased before the world can hear what they found. And then comes the money trail, the wildest part of this entire mystery. That supposed $3 million cash payment for Tupac's cremation still stands as one of the strangest details in the whole saga. Who drops that kind of money for a simple cremation? The amount was never officially confirmed, but insiders close to the mortuary swore it happened. Quietly, off the books, no paperwork, no invoices, just a private handoff in cash. And right after that deal went down, the crematory worker responsible suddenly retired, left the state, and wiped himself from every professional record out there. No exit interview, no goodbye, no trace, like he was paid to disappear right alongside the body he supposedly burned. Meanwhile, the justice system staged its version of closure, but it looked more like a performance than justice. In 2023, prosecutors finally charged former gang member Dwayne Keefe D. Davis with Tupac's shooting. But even that move felt suspicious. They didn't go for the top charge, didn't push for a full public trial, and definitely didn't open the door for bigger names to be dragged in. It was what some call a controlled explosion, loud enough for headlines, but quiet enough to protect whoever's still pulling strings behind the scenes. And here's where it gets even colder. Suge Knight, the only surviving witness in that BMW, refused to testify. From prison, he said Keefe D was a childhood friend and added, "I wouldn't wish prison on my worst enemy." That's not loyalty, that's strategy. A man who once ran the most feared label in hip-hop is now shielding the one guy accused of killing his biggest artist. So the real question is, why? But what if the real answer isn't in what happened after the shooting, but in what was already boiling before it? Those last months of Tupac Shakur's life were a psychological war zone, not just against East Coast rivals, but deep inside the walls of Death Row Records itself. By early 1996, the label that once looked like his ticket to freedom had turned into a golden cage. The fame, the flash, the promises, it all started feeling fake. Pac had begun seeing through the glitter. The late-night calls from executives, the missing royalty checks, the constant feeling he was being watched. It was all eating at him. Friends said he was restless, paranoid, and convinced that people in his own circle were playing both sides. What the world saw as creative genius was, behind the scenes, a man unraveling under pressure. Someone who believed his own crew was setting him up. The first public crack came in his quiet feud with Snoop Dogg. Just weeks before that night in Vegas, things between them had gone cold. Tupac felt betrayed after Snoop gave interviews showing love to Biggie and Diddy, the very men Pac believed were plotting against him. Inside death row, that was considered straight-up treason. This wasn't just about loyalty, it was about survival. When you live in a world where alliances can get you killed, even a smile in the wrong direction could cost you everything. People close to the label said Snoop started pulling back, meeting with lawyers, exploring new deals, trying to secure his next move. To Tupac, that was all the proof he needed. Proof that the Brotherhood Suge Knight built was cracking and everyone was secretly working on their own escape plan. Behind closed doors, it was pure chaos. Studio insiders described explosive sessions where Tupac accused Suge of skimming his money, yelling that his accounts didn't add up. Whatever trust they once had was gone, and everyone knew it. The empire death row built was starting to rot from the inside out. Tupac was furious. His albums were making millions, yet his money was being controlled by men with mob connections. When he confronted them, he went off, slamming doors, flipping chairs, and swearing he'd leave death row the moment his contract ended. The music was supposed to be his freedom, but by then the walls were already closing in. He'd told friends he planned to start his own company, take his masters, and go independent. And that move would have exposed everything: the secret investors, the off-the-books cash, and the hidden power players behind the label. One night that summer, things exploded. Witnesses whispered about a heated argument in a West Hollywood studio where Tupac shouted they were bleeding him dry. It wasn't just anger, it was rebellion. By the next morning, word spread that executives were scrambling, worried he'd go public with what he knew. In the following weeks, death row turned cold, bodyguards changed, meetings got canceled, and Tupac's phone started being watched. Seen from that angle, the Vegas shooting doesn't look random. It looks like the final move in a dangerous power game. Tupac wasn't just an artist anymore. He was a liability, a man who knew too much. Maybe he didn't fake his death to hide from enemies on the streets. Maybe he did it to escape the ones sitting right beside him. Maybe Tupac didn't disappear to escape rivals, but to get away from the very men who called themselves his brothers, people who had already decided he was worth more gone than alive. That's where loyalty, silence, and profit start blending together. When Snoop Dogg bought Death Row Records in 2022, it was hyped as a legendary, full-circle moment. But behind the headlines, everything was locked tight. No sale price, no investor list, no clarity on what assets were included. Even the label's prized music catalog wasn't part of the first deal. Industry whispers said someone else might have funded it. Someone who wanted control over what stayed hidden in those archives. Then came Suge Knight's 2025 prison outburst, calling Snoop out directly, "What did you buy? Show me the paperwork." To casual fans, it sounded like ego, but to those following the Tupac mystery, it felt like a warning.
You get to be the age that we at and you get to become as successful as we are, you have to start doing some things that matter for the future.
Maybe this wasn't just about ownership, it was about erasing or rewriting what really happened. Those death row files held contracts, tapes, and letters, documents that could expose who managed Tupac's final recordings and where the money went after he vanished. If those records got sealed or bought out, the truth could stay buried forever. Even Snoop's old words hit different now. When he once said he dimmed his light so Tupac could shine. Back then, it sounded like respect. But what if it wasn't? What if Tupac's light wasn't dimmed? It was switched off so another could rise? Former Outlaws member Napoleon once claimed Snoop grew jealous of Tupac's dominance at death row, and director Alan Hughes used almost the same phrase, saying Snoop dimmed his light. It's strange how everyone close to the story repeats that same coded language, like they're all guarding the same secret. When you connect the dots, the vanished witnesses, the missing money, the staged legal moves, and those hush-hush corporate deals, the picture that forms isn't random. It looks like a planned disappearance, protected by powerful men who built empires off Tupac's name. Every decade brings a new breakthrough, a new confession, a new charge, but somehow no real answers. And anyone who digs too deep, they either back off or vanish completely. Maybe Tupac's death wasn't just tragedy, it was an operation. One built on payoffs, silence, and power. The real question isn't if he faked it, it's who helped him, who profited, and who's still protecting that truth. Because if the same people are keeping this buried after nearly 30 years, What else are they hiding? Maybe the story of Tupac Shakur isn't over at all. It's just waiting for someone brave enough to expose it. So what do you think really happened? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.